What happens when the hate that's supposed to destroy you actually fuels your rise? That's the puzzle SSERAFIM faced the second they entered the spotlight. The debut was polished on the surface, but underneath, chaos was brewing. Netizens sharpened their keyboards and wrote the group's ending before the story even started. Most rookies would retreat when the heat gets that intense, but SSERAFIM did the opposite. They looked the criticism dead in the eye and made a declaration. Pressure makes us better. It sounded bold. It also sounded impossible, but the real story was just beginning. The turbulence hit immediately, and the noise was deafening. Kim Garam's departure just 11 weeks after debut left the group scrambling to redefine themselves with a missing piece. Instead of damage control through endless apologies, they did something unexpected. They weaponized the narrative. If everyone wanted to call them fragile, they'd respond with a whole comeback called anti-fragile. The message was sharp. We don't claim to be unbreakable. We claim to get stronger when tested. That's a dangerous pitch for a rookie group still finding their footing. But it flipped the script on the audience in a clever way. Every stage became a live test. People didn't have to be fans to stay watching. They just had to be curious if the concept would actually hold up under fire. Anti-Fragile dropped in October 2022, like a challenge wrapped in a beat. It didn't beg for sympathy, didn't soften the edges. It moved with urgency, like the members were racing straight into the storm with confidence written all over their faces. The sound had a specific energy, bouncy but sharp, carefree but controlled, almost like shrugging at the chaos while dancing through it. The track wasn't just music, it was a promise the group would have to prove in real time again and again. Here's where it got interesting for insiders. Fans could see the training underneath, the endless hours perfecting synchronization, the breath technique keeping voices stable during explosive choreography, and the dedication turning a catchy hook into something undeniable on stage. Industry watchers could spot whether it was genuine or manufactured. Critics could replay and search for inconsistencies. Everyone stayed tuned either way. Then came the early 2024 music show wins that brought the moment every K-pop group dreads: encore stages. These are the raw, unfiltered moments where backing tracks fade and handheld mics reveal everything. The cameras zoom in, the audience goes quiet, and every vocal becomes evidence. The reactions came fast and sharp. Pitch issues called out frame by frame, stamina questioned in real time. Clips didn't just circulate, they exploded, spreading faster than any congratulations ever could. It felt brutal, maybe even unfair, but it also made the narrative stickier than any PR campaign could manufacture. The encore turned casual viewers into investigators, all asking the same question: will they sound tighter next time? That single question is rocket fuel for engagement. It pulls even the most skeptical scrollers back for the next episode. Tough moments either paralyze you or they sharpen your focus. For SSERAFIM, those viral clips became study material. Breath control had to improve where the choreography sent heart rates through the ceiling. Harmonies needed adjustment for human limits, not just the perfection captured in studio isolation. Set sequences got reworked so the most demanding sections didn't stack on top of each other. In-ear monitoring was fine-tuned for clarity when crowd noise drowns out everything else. None of this makes headlines. All of it is the difference between almost landing it and actually sticking the dismount. While the internet churned out hot takes packaged in viral tweets, the group was building a quieter narrative. Absorb the criticism, fix what's broken, show up again. But the loudest chapter was about to unfold. Coachella arrived like a final exam under the harshest lighting possible. It's the kind of stage that magnifies ambition, nerves, and every single imperfection. The first weekend unleashed a firestorm of opinions. Some viewers praised the stage presence and energy, many more dissected the vocals and stamina like it was open audition night. The timeline erupted. Their name refused to leave the trending section for hours, cycling through waves of criticism and defense. If you supported them, you held your breath. If you didn't, you watched anyway to confirm your suspicions. That's the strange mathematics of building through controversy. Even the negative attention keeps your name in rotation. And then came the Coachella weekend too. Coming back to the same stage is the most honest kind of test. You can't fake a breath you haven't trained for, or hide an interval your body refuses to support under pressure. But you can adjust, recalibrate, and try again with the whole world comparing notes. The second weekend felt different to many who tuned in. Steadier lines, cleaner harmonies, faces that looked less like they were surviving, and more like they were owning the moment. Positive observations started bubbling up alongside the criticism, though accusations still flew in claiming media manipulation, selective editing, and agenda-driven coverage. But the footage existed for anyone to compare. Not a miraculous transformation overnight, but at least a visible one. The narrative didn't completely flip, but it bent. And in the attention economy, that bend is everything. While debates raged across every platform, the schedule didn't pause for discourse. The group kept appearing: music shows, festival stages, promotional runs in the US. That decision breaks a common industry pattern. When the heat gets unbearable, most acts disappear and hope the conversation moves on. Les SSERAFIM leaned into visibility instead. They made a habit of returning to the exact battlegrounds that drew the harshest criticism. When you do that consistently, audiences start learning your rhythm. They don't tune in expecting flawless execution, they tune in for measurable progress. The question shifts from, are they good enough? To, did they level up today? It's the same mechanism that powers binge culture. You don't watch the next episode to see if the protagonist wins everything. You watch to see if they win more than they did yesterday. Momentum doesn't come from a single viral moment. It comes from accumulating proof. Milestones began stacking up in quiet defiance of the "they're finished" narrative. Recognition that usually passes by K-pop girl groups in Western markets landed with undeniable weight. Chart positions that turned heads, stages filmed by cameras that don't hand out participation trophies, awards that signal, "we're paying attention." Was it controversial? Absolutely. Was it earned? The audience did their own calculations. When wins keep arriving while people are still arguing about whether you deserve them, the argument itself becomes the engine pulling more eyes toward those wins. Netizens stayed invested because there were actual personalities to track. You could watch a leader holding the formation together when pressure peaked. You could hear a distinctive vocal color cutting through dense production even when the moment got messy. You could see ballet-trained lines slicing through camera frames with precision that turns movement into punctuation. You could sense a creative mind making micro-adjustments mid-performance. And the Maknae energy, unexpected, genuine, and warm, softened even the harshest comment sections. Individual personalities anchor viewers to a group when the music stops playing. That's why dedicated fans become archivists and casual observers become lurkers who never quite click away. Zoom out, and you see how the group's identity snapped into focus. Les SSERAFIM never claimed invincibility. They claimed responsiveness, trained by fire, steadied by repetition, made more effective by friction. That's an identity that survives or dies based on live microphones and exhausting schedules, not marketing slogans. By pushing through the ugliest conversations with relentless presence, never slipping out the back door, never letting the algorithm forget they exist, they sold that identity the hard way, one visible correction at a time. By now, the arc reads clearly. A group criticized for not being ready, then celebrated for showing up anyway. The contradiction became the selling point. The back and forth generated endless views, but the story settled on one idea that refuses to fade. Progress is entertaining. It entertains dedicated fans tracking every frame. It entertains casual viewers who love an underdog narrative. It even entertains skeptics who return periodically to check if the slip will happen again. The outcome is identical regardless of motive. More attention, more clips, more opportunities to validate the thesis they named in that early title track. So, did the backlash break Les SSERAFIM? Not even close. It branded them, not as victims caught in a cycle, but as architects of a method. The method is brutally simple. Absorb the hit, document the work, return stronger. It won't win every comment section, and it won't make every note land perfectly every single time. But it doesn't need to. It just needs to make the next performance undeniably better than the last one the internet remembers. That's the kind of progress you can sense even with the volume low and your skepticism high. If you followed from the beginning, you recognize the pattern. You click out of habit, ready to evaluate. A vocal line lands cleaner than it used to. A face looks calmer under pressure. A formation that used to visibly drain them now flows. You don't become a believer in one moment, but you do become a returning viewer. And once you're checking in regularly, the mathematics of anti-fragility start working on you too. You arrived for the verdict. You stayed for the curve. In the end, the story isn't that they avoided the mess. The story is that they documented the climb out of it with cameras rolling. In a culture that rewards the loudest viral moment, they made the long game fascinating. Steady upgrades, public proof, and just enough suspense to make the next stage feel like a season finale. So here's the question hanging in the air, the one keeping even the harshest threads refreshing their feeds. Have they fully earned that anti-fragile name yet? Or is the most convincing proof still one performance away? Either way, you'll be there for the next clip. And that might be the biggest breakthrough of all.